Max locked the door to his apartment, letting out a sigh of relief as he shrugged off his coat and hung it on the hook by the door. The day at work had been particularly draining. Endless meetings dragged on for hours, stacks of documents piled up on his desk, and the pressure of deadlines loomed over him like a sword of Damocles, squeezing the last bits of energy from him. His head throbbed from numbers and arguments, his body ached from sitting at the computer, and all he wanted was to collapse onto the couch, disconnect from the world, forget about the city's noise, the traffic, and the ringing phones, and sink into a sleep where no one could disturb him, a peaceful evening alone with a cup of tea and a good book. But just as he envisioned this idyllic scene, the words of Catherine from the previous day floated back into his mind. "You know, let's invite my mom over," she had said. The idea had seemed amusing, even refreshing, like a breath of cool air on a sweltering day. It had been a while since she had visited. They hadn't seen each other in months since she moved to a different neighborhood, and Max thought it might lighten their everyday routine, adding a touch of family warmth to their monotonous evenings. Little did he know how that simple visit would turn their lives upside down, opening doors to emotions they had never anticipated. Things became more complicated when Catherine called him during his lunch break, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We've come up with something to shake off our boredom, to really stir things up. You're going to love this surprise. It's going to change your perspective." Her voice crackled with barely contained laughter, igniting his curiosity in the middle of a dull workday. His imagination, exhausted from reports and deadlines, began to conjure the wildest scenarios. Maybe they had signed up for tango lessons together, learning to twirl passionately in rhythm with the music, or perhaps they had decided to adopt an exotic bird that would chirp in the mornings, filling their home with life. He even envisioned some crazy culinary experiment where they mixed ingredients from different cuisines, Thai spices with Italian herbs. Although Catherine had never been one for adventurous dishes, preferring tried-and-true recipes like her grandmother's borscht or a simple fresh vegetable salad. But he had no idea that in just an hour, everything would be turned upside down, and his weary evening would mark the beginning of something entirely new, a whirlwind of emotions and discoveries that would sweep him off his feet. As he stepped into the living room, Catherine was already waiting for him, comfortably settled on the couch in a light dress that softly outlined her silhouette, accentuating curves he knew as well as his own. But today, those lines seemed special, almost beckoning him to touch, promising something unexplored that quickened his pulse. Her eyes sparkled as if hiding a secret he was meant to unravel, layer by layer, igniting a spark of curiosity mixed with a hint of trepidation within him. Nearby, in a cozy armchair, sat Irina, his mother-in-law. A glass of something amber glimmered in her hand, likely the cognac she enjoyed sipping in the evenings, taking small sips to savor the flavor. A warm smile played on her lips, one that held a hint of mischief, always making him squirm a little in his seat. It was a smile that suggested she knew more than she let on, a blend of experience and wisdom. She looked not just elegant but like a woman confidently steering the ship of her life, relishing each moment, with the grace that comes from years of experience, the wrinkles around her eyes telling stories. "Max, you're right on time," Catherine said, rising and brushing her hand against his palm. Her fingers lingered a moment longer than usual, their warmth seeping through his skin, sending a jolt through his body, like a spark from a lighter that was about to ignite a flame, dispelling the chill of fatigue. "We thought our evenings had become too bland, monotonous, like a rerun of a show without a plot," she continued, looking at him with a questioning gaze, her eyes sparkling with anticipation, inviting him to join in. Irina nodded approvingly, her eyes twinkling with support, like stars in the night sky. "Life should be vibrant with new colors. Darling, we shouldn't fade into the grayness of everyday life, drowning in routine," she added gently yet firmly, her tone always soothing. "We decided to bring in some freshness, to shake up our routine, add a little spice." What do you think? Max felt his pulse quicken. His heart raced as if anticipating a storm about to break. And what exactly do you mean? He tried to sound calm, though inside he was a mix of curiosity and vague unease, like he was behind the wheel of a car for the first time on an unfamiliar road full of twists and turns. Catherine moved closer, her presence becoming more palpable, like the warm air from a fireplace on a chilly evening. Her breath brushed against his cheek, warm and inviting, carrying the faint scent of her favorite perfume mingled with the aroma of wine. Well, we thought we all needed a bit of freedom, the freedom to be ourselves, without masks or limitations, without worrying about what others might think. Catherine whispered, her voice smooth and enticing, wrapping around him like silk. He felt her hand glide across his back, leaving a trail of goosebumps that spread throughout his body, awakening long-forgotten sensations. And we want you to help us, to be part of this, our guide, Irina said, her gaze locked onto his, a challenge flickering in her eyes like a panther aware that its prey was ensnared, savoring the moment before the leap. It will be like an adventure, a very pleasant one, trust me. Just let go and don't overthink it. Allow yourself to ride the waves, to relax and enjoy the flow that will carry us all, she continued, her tone inviting yet firm. Max shifted his gaze between the two women, trying to decipher the hidden meanings behind their words, the unspoken hints that stirred a mix of excitement and apprehension within him, like the tension before a storm. All right, he exhaled, surprised by his own boldness, born from fatigue and a longing for change, a thirst for something new. I'm completely in your hands. A spark of triumph ignited in their eyes, bright and promising. He realized there was no turning back, they had already stepped beyond the familiar into the unknown. As they settled in for a late night of laughter and storytelling, the thought of going to work the next day without enough sleep seemed less of a burden and more a part of the adventure. His usual world had just taken a leap into uncertainty, and the air in the room was thick with anticipation, palpable and electric. Evening approached, and the house was enveloped in a special, almost enchanting aura, wrapping around them like mist over a river, concealing secrets. Entering the living room, Max immediately sensed a shift. The soft glow from the lamps cast warm reflections on the walls, softening the edges of the furniture and giving the room a mysterious depth, as if he had stepped into a classic film where every frame was filled with hints and subtext. A gentle melody of jazz floated from the speakers, enveloping the space like a cozy blanket on an autumn evening, the rhythm echoing in his chest, quickening his heartbeat. The scent of vanilla, mingled with a hint of cinnamon and a touch of chocolate, wafted through the air, making his heart race with anticipation, hinting at the treats prepared for the evening. Soft throws and cushions were spread across the sofa and chairs, inviting him to sit, to relax, and to forget about the outside world, the street noise, the worries of the day, everything left behind at the door. Catherine and Irina had already taken their places. Their presence made him pause for a moment, as if he had entered another world, one full of mysteries. Come sit, Max, Catherine said, her voice gentle yet tinged with newfound determination, like a director ready to launch a performance filled with improvisation and emotion. She gestured to the spot next to her on the couch, and in that motion was an intimacy, an invitation to closeness. The idea of their experiment sounded sweet in words, like a harmless game, but his inner voice hinted that this was merely a prelude, an appetizer before the main course that promised to be rich, unexpected, and full of flavors. He settled onto the couch, feeling the upholstery embrace him like an old friend, soft and welcoming, wrapping him in comfort. Irina lifted her glass, her movements graceful and unhurried, like a dance. I'll start, if no one minds, she said, her tone low and silky, each word polished, like pearls in a necklace full of meaning. Max, you are a wonderful man. You possess a strength that sometimes feels lacking in our routine, in these gray days filled with repetition. You know how to be a support, a reliable rock, yet you are so sensitive. This is the true gem that makes you special, unique. With you, I feel alive again, as if I'm waking up anew after a long sleep filled with loneliness. And I love how you look at me. That gaze penetrates deeper than words, touching the soul. Her words made him blush. Heat rushed to his cheeks, but a pleasant warmth spread through him, like a cup of tea on a cold day, melting the ice inside. She touched on themes that had never been voiced before, those hidden in the corners of the soul, in the secret chambers of the heart. Her penetrating and sincere gaze seemed to look straight into his heart, making him forget about worries, about work, about everything external, leaving only them. Just to get closer. Quietly and peacefully, step by step. Catherine, sitting beside him, placed her hand on his knee. Her touch was light, like a breeze promising a storm, sending shivers across his skin, igniting something deeper within. Your turn, Mom, she winked at Irina, a playful note in her tone, as if sharing a secret known only to the three of them, full of subtext. Irina smiled, her lips curving into a warm yet playful grin. And I would say that you, Catherine, have that spark that ignites everything around you, like fireworks in the night sky, bright and dazzling. You know how to turn the mundane into a celebration, and it's contagious, like a good melody that gets stuck in your head. And, Max, you add stability. The evening air in the cozy living room of Max's apartment was thick with laughter and the aroma of freshly baked bread. The three friends, Max, Catherine, and Irina, sat around the coffee table, their glasses filled with a rich red wine that glimmered in the soft light of the lamps. They had gathered for what had become a cherished tradition, a night of reminiscing and sharing dreams, a break from the monotony of their daily routines. Remember last year when we tried to make that crazy soup? Catherine's eyes sparkled with mischief as she leaned forward, her dark curls bouncing slightly. We mixed spices from all over the world, Indian curry, Italian herbs, and ended up with something that was both a triumph and a disaster. Max chuckled, the memory flooding back. That soup was so spicy it could have been a weapon. I think we cried more from laughter than from the onions we chopped. Irina joined in, her laughter ringing like a melody. The kitchen turned into a battlefield. Carrots flying, tomatoes splattering everywhere. I still can't believe we didn't burn the place down. As they shared the memory, the tension in the room melted away, replaced by warmth and camaraderie. Max took a deep breath, feeling the words rise from within him. Catherine, you've always been the anchor in my life, but with a breeze that pushes me forward through the storms. Your energy is inspiring, and there's a mystery about you that makes me want to discover more every day, like turning the pages of a captivating book. His words hung in the air, and he noticed a faint blush on Catherine's cheeks, her eyes glimmering with delight. Irina leaned in closer, her gaze warm and inviting. And Max, I appreciate your reliability mixed with surprises that keep us on our toes. You're like a book with unexpected chapters, where every page is filled with emotion. The conversation flowed effortlessly, transitioning from nostalgic tales to dreams of the future. They spoke of desires hidden for years, how routine had dulled their spark, and the importance of taking risks to feel alive again. Catherine shared her youthful dreams of traveling the world, her voice tinged with longing. I always wanted to explore, but life just swept me into the daily grind. I miss that feeling of adventure. Irina reminisced about her own passionate youth, her eyes sparkling with memories. I remember those days when every moment felt like an adventure. I want that back. Max nodded, feeling a surge of connection. I've had my own fantasies about change, about breaking free from the predictable. As the evening wore on, they shed their invisible masks, the air thick with a sense of liberation. The light from the lamps danced in their glasses, casting playful shadows on the walls, while the music in the background swelled, matching the rhythm of their hearts. Catherine reached for Max's hand, her fingers warm and inviting. "Now, let's talk about what we're missing," she said, her voice playful yet earnest. "I crave fresh experiences, those sparks that chase away boredom, like a wind clearing the clouds. I want to be more impulsive," she continued, her gaze intense. "To let go of control and let emotions lead the way. Life shouldn't just flow, it should bubble over with excitement and discovery." Max felt a shiver run down his spine at her words, as if a sudden rain had washed over him, refreshing and invigorating. Irina chimed in, her voice steady and sincere. "I want a fullness of life, too. I want to feel desired and alive, not stuck in a predictable routine." "Life has become too predictable, hasn't it?" Catherine added, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I dream of secrets and surprises, where every day is an adventure filled with emotions." Her words ignited something within Max, like a match struck against dry hay, setting off a fire that spread quickly and passionately. He realized they were seeking more than just conversation, they were yearning for genuine connection, unity. His heart raced, a drumbeat echoing the rhythm of an approaching storm filled with passion. Catherine leaned closer, her whisper barely audible yet deeply resonant. "What we mean, Max, is that we want you to help us bring these impulses to life, to create something special that will draw us closer together, making our hearts beat in unison." Max paused, weighing his words carefully, considering the implications. "I'm in," he finally said, his voice steady yet tinged with excitement. Triumph lit up their eyes, bright and victorious, and as the night deepened, they all felt the promise of adventure hanging in the air, ready to unfold. The three hearts beat in unison, merging in harmony within a single flow. Max's wife, Catherine, nestled comfortably beside him, radiating the familiar warmth that always brought him peace. At first, the presence of Irina felt strange and unfamiliar, like stepping into the unknown. But within 10 minutes, that sensation faded, and everything inside him trembled with excitement, transforming their world into a vibrant tapestry of new colors and emotions. What could three open and honest souls create together? As long as they were truthful with one another and themselves, confessing to the desires they had kept silent for years, releasing the pent-up wishes that simmered inside like steam in a kettle. Better late than never, he thought. If you haven't tried something like this, you should. It changes everything, flipping the world upside down. Once you experience it, you'll never want to go back. The feeling of freedom and closeness was exhilarating, lasting for hours as conversations flowed into actions, gentle touches blossomed into passionate kisses, and embraces dissolved all boundaries. The morning after was anything but ordinary. It felt like a true rebirth, as if someone had flicked a switch in a dark room, illuminating everything around them with fresh energy. Max opened his eyes to sunlight streaming through the curtains, dancing on the walls like golden waves on a summer river, casting playful glimmers. The air in the room was rich, infused with the scent of fresh berries mingling with the aroma of coffee brewing downstairs, a cozy invitation to rise and savor the moment. He turned his head to find Catherine sleeping beside him, her hair cascading across the pillow like a silken waterfall. Her breathing was steady and calm, reminiscent of a gentle stream in the forest. A light, mischievous smile lingered on her face, and he felt a surge of warmth and tenderness fill his chest, enveloping him completely. A soft rustle from Irina at the edge of the bed caught his attention. He didn't need to look to know she was awake, her presence radiated a soothing warmth. In that moment, he realized the old world had vanished, dissolved into the past like smoke. Ahead lay something new and unique, woven together by the three of them, like threads of fate intertwined into a rich fabric full of patterns. He stretched, feeling a pleasant fatigue in his body, yet an extraordinary lightness, as if he had shed a heavy burden that had weighed him down for years, making room for joy. The previous night felt like a vivid reality, transforming everything from their glances to their touches, from words to actions. Catherine stirred, opened her eyes, and smiled at him sleepily, with that lazy grace that always captivated him, like the dawn breaking. "Good morning, adventurer," she said, her voice playful. "I didn't expect last night to be so invigorating, so full of energy that I still have goosebumps." Her tone was light-hearted, laced with humor, and they both chuckled softly, careful not to wake Irina, though he suspected she was already awake, simply relishing the moment and reminiscing. "You're right," Max replied, feeling a smile spread across his face, illuminating everything around him. It was like jumping into the ocean, initially cold and shocking, but then pure bliss, waves of adrenaline propelling him forward. Irina sat up, her hair tousled but only adding to her charm, making her appear more vibrant and human. "So, team," she said with a velvet smile that brightened the room like a ray of sunshine. It felt as if they had reached a new height, crossed a barrier, and now the path was wide open. Life would certainly not be dull anymore, it would shine brightly. He got up to fetch coffee, and upon returning with a tray full of steaming cups, fresh croissants, and fruit, he noticed the ladies whispering to each other, their eyes sparkling with memories of the moments they had shared the night before, filled with touches and words. "You know," Catherine said, lifting her cup and taking a sip, her lips brushing the rim, "I think this is just the beginning, the first step on a long journey. We could have another night of revelations, but let's add a twist of spontaneity, like that soup we made last month. Remember," she continued, her eyes glinting. "We improvised, tossing in ingredients at random, experimenting with flavors, and it turned out surprisingly delicious despite the mess in the kitchen, the spilled broth, and our laughter." Irina nodded, her eyes sparkling like wine in a glass. "Exactly. Life is like a recipe. Sometimes you need to mix the ingredients in new ways, take risks to discover fresh, unexpected flavors that you'll want to savor again." Their words were filled with double meanings, like a guessing game where every gesture promised a surprise, and every word invited a new adventure, new discoveries. Max felt a surge of energy mixed with a light thrill, a flutter of anticipation for the unknown, like standing at the edge of a journey. What awaited them next? Perhaps more evenings filled with revelations or spontaneous trips where they would explore not only places but also themselves and their desires. In the days and weeks that followed, this new harmony only deepened, like tea steeping stronger with each passing hour, infusing their lives with richness and flavor. The evenings had shed their monotony, transforming into vibrant, lively experiences filled with laughter and deep conversations. They spent those nights exchanging glances and gentle touches, igniting sparks like a campfire illuminating the darkness of a forest. Catherine radiated even more warmth, her laughter rang out more frequently, and her eyes sparkled with a fire reminiscent of an artist who had found her muse in the everyday moments. "I think I've finally found myself, Max," she said one evening as they lounged on the balcony, gazing at the stars twinkling in the sky like distant lanterns. Her hand rested on his, sending a light pulse through his skin, invigorating and electrifying. "Thank you. It feels like a breath of fresh air on a muggy day when everything seemed stagnant," she added, her voice soft yet filled with conviction. Irina had become even more enigmatic, her depths akin to a river with a calm surface hiding powerful currents beneath, capable of sweeping one away into uncharted waters filled with mysteries. Her wisdom, her tranquility, and her ability to create a sense of comfort with just a look or a word had taken on new significance for him. "Sometimes I feel like I've been waiting for this my whole life," she remarked one evening while they watched an old film, snuggled together on the couch with popcorn and wine. Her shoulder brushed against his, transmitting warmth that was inviting, like a gentle nudge toward closeness. To ease the tension, he joked, "If our life were a movie, this would be the moment when the hero realizes his quiet little bay is actually an ocean cruise full of discoveries, just without the seasickness and with a favorable breeze. They both laughed, and that humor infused the air with warmth, making the evening cozier and drawing them closer together. He felt transformed, unrecognizable from the man he once was. His previous life, gray and routine, filled with endless meetings and monotonous discussions, now sparkled with thoughts he had never dared to dream before, bursting with color and vibrancy. He was no longer just existing, drifting along, he was living fully, soaking in every moment like a sponge greedily absorbing water. The realization that these two remarkable women had entrusted him with their innermost desires, that they had welcomed him into their world, filled him with pride and euphoria, as if he had hit the jackpot in a lottery he never expected to win. This was not merely a domestic bliss, it was something grand, a collective creation, a unique garden where new flowers bloomed, rich with fragrance. Let's not forget, he broke the silence one evening during dinner, this is our shared story. It's priceless, like a rare diamond shining in the light. Everyone would envy them if they knew. This is ours. Just ours, and we will nurture it, adding new chapters, he declared. Irina raised her glass, her eyes locking onto his, and something flickered within them, quickening his pulse like a sudden gust of fresh wind. To us, she said, her tone resonating like the final chord in a symphony, yet promising an encore. But they also cherished the light-hearted moments that added spice to their lives, making their harmony even more flavorful and exciting. The next day, they decided to have an impromptu picnic on the balcony. Not with extravagant dishes, but with homemade sandwiches, fresh berries, cheese, and a bottle of wine under the stars. Catherine took the initiative, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm like a child. Max, remember how we baked that pie last month? We threw in everything we could find, chocolate, nuts, even fruits. It turned out to be something between a masterpiece and a rock, hard as stone. But we laughed so much that the neighbors knocked on the wall, complaining about the noise. Irina chimed in, her laughter ringing like a bell. Oh yes, that rock could have served as a doorstop or even a paperweight, but that's the beauty of the unexpected, the surprises that make life sharper, adding flavor and zest. They ate, chatted, and reminisced about other funny incidents, like the time they tried to assemble furniture from a store, and everything went awry. Shelves fell, screws went missing, and they laughed until they cried, turning chaos into joy, or the time they hosted a karaoke night at home, singing off-key but reveling in the moment. As the weeks passed, their harmony evolved, becoming richer and more multifaceted. They introduced new rituals, taking walks in the park where they discussed dreams of the future, evenings spent with books reading passages aloud that inspired reflection and new ideas, even small trips out of town where nature deepened their connection, walking hand in hand through the woods, sharing their innermost thoughts. They continued to experiment, trying new recipes and hosting themed nights where they shared their fantasies, each time strengthening their bond. Ultimately, this story became their secret corner, their refuge, where each day bloomed with new colors, filled with warmth, humor, and fresh sensations of life. The three of them, Max, Catherine, and Irina, had created something unique that continued to grow, like a tree sending roots deeper with each season, branching out and blossoming. Subscribe to the channel,